would like to first thank everyone for attending this event. I would like to thank Suzuki Masako for organizing our tour. We could not be happier to be in Japan debating. Dr. Sakai said that it was a good learning experience for Japanese students for Western debate, but it has been an amazing learning experience for us to debate all over Japan, many universities, and even to do workshops at the high school level. And we just want to say thank you so much for coming, and thank you to our hosts for organizing. Now, I would like to begin the debate. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. This House believes that the Japanese government should double the consumption tax by 2015. We have three main points. First is that implementing a consumption tax is vital to the Japanese credit rating. Second is that a consumption tax is absolutely essential for the continuation of Japanese social security and other entitlement programs like medical care. This is especially important for people of advanced age. Third point will be addressed by our deputy, Dr. Brian Lane. Our first point is that consumption tax is needed now to secure Japanese credit rating. I'm sure many of you are aware that Japanese credit was recently downgraded by the international credit rating agency Fitch. According to the Wall Street Journal, quote, "A failure to double the consumption tax could further erode confidence in the nation's fiscal policy and invite a credit downgrade." That evidence was written after the recent downgrade of Fitch, and we all saw what a terrible effect that had on both the Japanese stock market and the economy overall. Now, if the Japanese credit were further downgraded, this would be an absolute catastrophe for everyone, for two reasons. A, it would call into question the ability of the Japanese government to pay its debts. This would invite a calamity of fiscal solvency, similar to what is currently happening in Greece and in the Eurozone more generally. This is not something that any Japanese people want to take the risk of, because it would be such a financial catastrophe. Point of information? Yeah.
The example of Greece has nothing to do with Japan, because the credit rate is more about national prosperity and sovereign risk rather than survey issued by private corporation. Don't you think so?
You make an interesting point. However, I would say that in fact the situation of Japan is in fact worse than Greece, because Japan has 226% ratio of debt to assets. This is far worse than the 123% that Greece had when its solvency was called into question. Point of information?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're saying that Japan is going to be downgraded due to its debts, do you think it would have been already downgraded by now?
And in fact, you are correct. Japan has already been downgraded by the credit rating agency Fitch. It will be further downgraded, and this could prompt a run on the banks and a national Great Depression. Our second point is concern for providing social security for Japanese elderly. As many of you know, Japan has a severely aging population. As a recent major economist in international economics, Rimkus, notes, as people become old, they tend to spend their savings rather than accumulate more savings. About 30% of Japanese population is elderly, and that figure is expected to grow. End quote. This means that there will be fewer people in Japan whose income is paying into a retirement pool for people in Japan of advanced age who may be sick, have health problems, or have family issues supporting themselves. It is absolutely essential that the Japanese government is proactive now, not to implement an income tax or a tax on employment, but rather to implement a broad consumption tax which will allow the collection of revenue for the preservation of future social programs. This can only be achieved by raising the consumption tax, as the Financial Times clearly states. Japan's rapidly aging society requires urgent measures to balance the burden of paying for social welfare among all members of society. End quote. As you can see, a consumption tax would quickly be able to raise the necessary revenue needed to secure Japan's financial stability, its fiscal solvency in the perception of international investors, and also lay the groundwork for a future program that will be able to secure the Japanese workforce as they move into advanced age. I would also like to note that this is something that is widely agreed upon by many Japanese economists. It is also pressured by international economists, given that Prime Minister Noda has already signaled his willingness to engage in consumption tax debates. As the New York Times reports, a lack of new policies to stabilize public finance could lead to further downgrade. End quote. It is also to be noted that the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development issued a joint statement strongly urging the government of Japan to raise its consumption tax in order to cover major holes in finance. Fact, Japan has the highest rate of debt to assets of any nation in the world. This is a huge problem. Japan has only been able to persist in this situation so long because of extremely high employment. But the combination of an aging population and fiscal insolvency will lead to further questions about Japan's ability to pay its bills. This will spell widespread disaster for the entirety of Japanese society, and it is a moral obligation for you to adopt the resolution of this House now. Thank you so much.